Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. This is episode 106. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, and we are fresh off the Oscars, and this is my co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers. And Chris and I, spoiler alert, got to hang out together today
Yeah,
and wait on corn dogs and watch Shazam 2.
and we'll get to it, but don't listen to the critics out there. It's
Yeah.
way better than people are saying.
It's to the point before we were even talking in the pre-show. I want to go back and watch it again,
Yeah,
and I'm just have to wait for the steelbook to come out. But this is one that I want to keep watching, which is weird because it hasn't been a. I can't tell you the last Marvel property where I left the theater and said I want to watch that again. And Ant Man,
Spider-Man.
no, Spider Man. Okay, so what was that? That was 2021 though, because that was
Yeah,
December, and
yeah.
well, it was November. Which, but that's Phase 4 for you.
Yep.
Anyways,
Unfor-
quick housekeeping. We got a lot of TV shows to talk about. A lot of which I'm excited about, and one I am not. But we'll get there before then. Quick housekeeping. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating, usually a 5 if you want to go that route on whatever podcasting app you do use. If you don't enjoy the show or see what you hear or see, make sure you leave us a comment down below. We can't improve the show, can't make improvements or any of that kind of stuff. Don't know what's wrong unless you tell us what's wrong down in the comments. And we appreciate it if you do leave us some good criticism and feedback there. Don't be a dick. That's just how most things are. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values. A lot of fun there. If you want to subscribe to us on Patreon, become a patron, you get a shout out every episode. You tell us what you want us to watch and see, review, that kind of thing. So if you always want to go that route, you can always do that. But Chris,
Early access.
yes.
Early access.
But listen, we had the Oscars last week. We had a very quick episode.
Mm.
And this is my first Oscars watching, so of course we'll get there when we get to the movie section of our show. But other than that, I know how today went. And I know how last Sunday night went. But from that span of a week there, how else has your week been?
First off, today's cold,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not for mid-March. I'm not happy with that.
And tomorrow's the first day of spring.
Yeah,
And it's in the 20s and flurrying here in
yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee. So,
Um, no, work was pretty good. Um, we'd been a little light, so I actually got out of there half night on Friday
ooh.
and came home and did absolutely nothing. So
That's how it usually goes. That's how
yeah,
I've been lately with work. It's just I feel so exhausted. Like I just sit down and like I watch a little bit of TV, scroll through my phone some more. At about 7 o'clock, because I get up real early in the mornings. About 7 o'clock comes around, I'm like, yeah, I could go to bed,
yeah.
and usually do. But this week hadn't been too crazy. I'm trying to think. No, not a crazy week at all. This one coming up is going to be. I work this next coming weekend. So that's going to take up some of my time. But other than that, it's just been a normal week, I guess, if you will. Well, except for Friday, which was tragic. But, anyways, have you been watching any other TV before we jump into our episodes here?
Not really, no.
Hmm.
No,
So,
I'm very boring.
yeah,
So
it's all right, We watched, the only thing notable different, we watched Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 1. It's just more Ted Lasso. And
yeah.
it's the last season, and it's going to be good. It already was very, I don't know, emotional heavy a little bit. You can see where they're going with some of these plot points. And in some ways, I hope they don't go with some of them, but that's how they always do. They lead you in one direction and go the complete opposite. But that's how
Are
it
you
is.
happy? Are you happy as a fan of that they're ending it with season 3 and going out on top, or would you rather them
I'd
lose?
rather them go out on their own terms. And
Yeah,
it's crazy because it's a show that makes a lot of money for Apple Plus and Apple TV or whatever you want to call it, which is great. But I would hate for them to drag out storylines and things like that and lose what makes it special. And they're like, hey, we're done. We're telling the stories we want to tell. And once that's done, we don't want to drag it out, which I am A-okay with. And Bill Lawrence gets that. Jason Sudeikis gets it. Everybody that's included gets it. So I'm fine with it. They've also got Shrinking, which is by the same people and some of the same executive producers. So, which they've only done one season. They got signed on for season 2 like 2 weeks ago. So, if you want that kind of feel, you could go that way as well. But speaking of Phil, let's talk about it. It's been exactly 1 week since this episode went live, and we have no more episodes for a while. That is The Last of Us Episode 9. Full-on spoilers for the whole show and for the whole first video game right now. We're going to tvline.com by Kimberly Roots once again. I'm going to try and cut out her own personal thoughts and opinions here, just so I have just a clean recap. A pregnant woman wearing a yellow dress and tennis shoes runs through the woods, arrives at a house, and quickly barricades herself inside an upstairs bedroom, sitting on the floor with her back against the wall. The woman is in labor, the house is under attack, and after we hear screams and clicker sounds, an infected woman busts through the door and goes straight for the mother-to-be, which this is also a nice point to put out. This is Ashley Johnson, who is Ellie in The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, which is really weird, because this is Ellie's mom, which is, she said in an interview, I don't know if it was the one, the recap post the episode, but she said it's kind of cool because it's Ellie giving birth to Ellie, and she goes, it's kind of weird to say that because I've already said it before because I am Ellie, and it's a different meaning. She's making a character, but this one she's birthing the character, so it's kind of cool, and I like how they did it this way. She has a knife in her hand. You recognize it as Ellie's knife from earlier on in the season, but when a contraction comes on strong, she drops the weapon. She manages to get a hold of it once more and kill the infected, and she's so focused on survival that she doesn't realize until after she's given birth and the baby is crying on the floor that she has been bitten on her leg. She cuts the umbilical cord and picks up her daughter. She says, "Yeah, you tell him, effing little Ellie. Tell him, Ellie," the woman says, crying as she cradles the infant. And now it's probably a good time to know. Okay, we already said that. When Marlene and a man get to the house, they find the woman, whose name is Anna, in the same spot. Marlene apologizes for being late, saying they couldn't get out of the QZ. Anna explains that Ellie needs to eat. She didn't want to nurse her after she was bit, afraid of course, getting her infected, because we don't know if nursing does pass on the disease. We really don't know. Let's see, she lies and says she cut the cord before the attack, then instructs Marlene to bring Ellie to Boston and give her the knife. Marlene says no crying, but Anna is resolute. How long have we known each other? Our whole lives, Marlene says. That's why you pick her up right now, and then you kill me. Though Marlene initially refuses, she eventually hands the baby off to her companion and shoots Anna before the cordyceps can turn her. Listen, the little companion guy with the fireflies is terrible. She says, make sure you cover her ears, and didn't. I'm like, all right, she told you to do one thing.
Fired.
It's not hard, In the present day, Ellie is not 100% herself after the worst afternoon ever spent at a steakhouse. She's quiet, she's a little spaced out, and Joel has to call her name several times before she realizes he's talking to her. They're on a highway full of stopped cars with Ellie quieter than normal. Joel seems to have taken it upon himself to fill the verbal void, which is really cool and completely opposite of what the very first episode was with Ellie and him. The complete 180, and you can see how much their relationship has grown over this past year, I think is what it is in the game. Let's see. He talks about how maybe they can find a guitar and he could teach her how to play. When she's slow to respond, his Ellie is so worried. We've said it before. Again, there's so much of their own feelings in here from Kimberly. She reads the concern in his tone and replies with false happiness. Yeah, she says, smiling, that'd be great. When he calls her out later on her reticence, she says she's fine. They eventually get to a building and are barely inside before Ellie starts scampering up levels like she's in Super Mario Brothers. When Joel eventually catches up to her on a high floor, he's surprised to see a giraffe eating from a tree that's grown into the structure. Ellie whispers not to scare the animal. He rips off some leaves and hands them to her so she can feed it. She giggles as the giraffe snacks on what she's offering. He's very obviously thinking thoughts while watching her have a moment of pure joy. Real giraffe, by the way, from one of the zoos. I forget where it was. It was somewhere up north near Oregon. Maybe the Oregon State Zoo or something like that. But what they did was a whole bunch of blue screens around it, and they were standing on the platform and feeding. It was really cool, and was obviously one of the biggest moments in the game, and such a touching moment with Joel to Ellie. And I knew they were going to put it in here, and I'm glad they did. And I'm glad they used a real animal, because that could have been weird.
Mhm.
Eventually, the animal moves and she climbs to the terrace to watch it reunite with some of its friends. And while she's happily witnessing the giraffe hang out, Joel brings up the risk involved with what could happen at the hospital. He says, "We don't have to do this. I just want you to know that." He says they could go back to Jackson or they could forget about the whole damn thing. But she's convinced that this is her purpose. She says, "After everything we've been through, everything I've done, it cannot be for nothing." She acknowledges that he wants to protect her, and he has protected her. And the way she talks about their future as though there's no doubt she'll stick with them is incredibly moving. Kimberly says, "I'll follow you wherever you go," she says, "but there's no halfway with this. We finished what we started." And what really can Joel do but not his agreement with this? When they arrive at the hospital, they see the ruins of a triage tent outside. Ellie wonders if it was a federal thing, but he says no. The army put up emergency medical camps everywhere right after the outbreak. When he mentions that he was a patient at one, she assumes he was there with her daughter. Sarah? No, she was already gone, he says. Let's see. He was at the camp for his ear injury, which resulted from a near miss from a gunshot on the second day after the outbreak, which we had a tease of this a couple episodes ago. Or was it 2 episodes? Let's see. Ellie jokes that the army medics stitched him up better than she did, but he's very serious as he stops walking and confesses that he tried to kill himself. "It was me," he says. "I was the guy who shot and missed. There's no story. Sarah died, and I couldn't see the point in this anymore. Simple as that, and I wasn't scared either. I was ready. I couldn't have been more ready." He says he flinched as he pulled the trigger, and he still has no idea why. Beautiful. Like, this was an absolutely beautiful moment. This is not talked about in the game. And it's just, it's wonderful. Like, Pedro and Bella's acting when they're sitting on this little stone girder was so good and so genuine, and I want them in everything from now on. And anytime there's a father-daughter show, just put them in it. She knows why he's telling her this, and she's certainly taking the admission seriously, but she attempts to lighten the moment by joking that time heals all wounds. Let's see, but you know who wants the... Let's see, Joel, who's barely held back tears away from enveloping her in a bear hug. "It wasn't time that did it," Joel says, his voice thick and his eyes glassy. She says, "Well, I'm glad that it didn't work out." He says, "Me too." A very touching moment. Oh, so good. Joel jokes about wanting to hear some bad puns, and she happily obliges, whipping the No Pun Intended Volume 2 out of her backpack for having the closest thing to fun this series allows, when of course a guy appears behind them and lobs a flash grenade their way. Joel sees the explosive right before it blows. He and Ellie are knocked down, then men with the guns approach and take her as they knock out Joel. He wakes up in a hospital room, a firefly symbol on one of the first things he sees. Marlene is there and she apologizes that the patrol didn't recognize them. Ellie is fine, she assures them and thanks them for keeping her safe, but she won't let Joel see her because she's being prepped for surgery. Marlene explains that the doctor's working theory is that Ellie has had cordyceps in her since birth. She says it makes normal cordyceps thinks that she's the cordyceps. That is why she is immune. She goes on about how the doctors plan to take out Ellie and multiply her cells in labs and then produce something like a vaccine that could be administered to everyone, but Joel is focused on one thing. He says cordyceps grow inside the brain, inferring that harvesting those cells means killing Ellie. Marlene resolutely reminds him that there is no one else they can turn to, and they're not planning on telling her that she's submitting to her own death, mainly so she will not be afraid. This is another good Marlene moment as well, because she knows how this is her best friend's daughter and sworn to protect and everything. And it's two people struggling with Ellie here with the save one versus the world kind of scenario here. But then again, in my mind, being a father now, I would have done what Joel does. Like, not being a father, I could see me saying, oh, it's one versus many. But having children now, and even seeing this bond that they very, very well portray on the TV, it's justified, in my opinion. Joel naturally rails against this decision and gets knocked down by one of the armed guards. Joel yells that Marlene doesn't understand, but she points out that she was there when Ellie was born, and I'm the only one who understands. I'm sorry, I have no other choice. She instructs her men to walk him out to the highway and leave him with his backpack and Ellie's knife. If he tries anything, shoot him, she said. Of course, Joel tries something. He's Joel. Angry Dad kills both of his guards in the stairwell and then slowly makes his way through the building, murdering everyone he runs into. One man surrenders and puts his weapon on the ground, but Joel kills him anyway. Eventually, he picks up one of the fallen Firefly's assault rifles and lays waste to anyone he comes across. This scene was wonderful. This is, of course, the thing that we've hinted at in the past, things that I was very curious to see how they did. But what I was not expecting was a theme music overlaid with some more more instruments and more somber tones. Like of course, you had the guitar men keyed and played, but then they had like other music, like drums, and then it's like, oh, it was very well done, and I enjoyed how they did this. He switched to a handgun by the time he arrived at the pediatric surgical unit, which is 1-to-1 from the game, might I add. He finds, he finds Ellie anesthetized and in a hospital gown, laid out on an operating table. Unhook her, Joel orders, and when the surgeon refuses and grabs a scalpel to defend himself, Joel shoots him in the face. When the surgeon refuses to he commands the other medical staff in the room, one of whom is Laura Bailey, if no one knew, who voices a pivotal character in The Last of Us Part 2, to turn their backs to him. Then he scoops up Ellie, who's still unconscious, and takes the elevator to the parking garage. The doors slide open to reveal Marlene waiting for him, gun drawn. You can't keep her safe forever, no matter how hard you try. Arguing that he's ultimately hurting Ellie by taking away the chance for a cure and they can set the whole world right again. Joel is not immune to what she's saying. It definitely seems like he's struggling with his emotions and his decision as Marlene promises that we can still find a way and puts down her gun. The next thing we know, he's driving. Ellie's in the back seat. As she stirs and starts to wake up, he says that there were dozens of people like her at the hospital, all immune, and that the doctors tested them and couldn't make anything work. They've stopped looking for a cure, he lies, compounding the fabrication when he explains that raiders attacked, which is why they didn't have time to stop and get her clothes. He confirms that people got hurt, and she wonders if Marlene is okay. Joel's eyes gets a little misty as he says, I'm taking us home. He tells her that's all he said. Ellie is still a little out of it, but awake enough to know something smells fishy. She turns over to so we can't see her face in the rearview mirror, and Joel whispers, I'm sorry. Flashback throughout this scene eliminate the truth. He shot Marlene but didn't kill her. She begged him to let her go, but Joel had no mercy. You just come after her and put a bullet in her head. Their car breaks down in Wyoming on the 5-hour hike back to Jackson. Joel is the chattiest of Kathy's, going on about how he and Sarah used to hike and how she and Ellie would have gotten along. They come to a rise and see Jackson in a distance, but before they continue on their way, Ellie has something to say. Back in Kansas City, you asked me about the first time I killed someone. She tells them about getting bit at the mall with Riley and fills in what we didn't see in episode 7, which we didn't even get this in the game. That she had to kill Riley when the fungus took over. Mm-hmm. Ellie clearly feels guilt about Riley and Tess and Sam, everybody in her orbit who's died in the past few months. Joel attempts to comfort her by talking about how some things don't work out the way you hope, but, quote, if you just keep going, you find something new to fight for. Let's see. Ellie says, swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true. He says, I swear. She doesn't believe him. You can tell by her face. She knows he's not telling the truth. But she nods, says, okay, and we fade to black. Yeah. Listen. Season 1 of The Last of Us. I did not expect this show to be this good. I did not expect it to be 1-to-1 as much as it was. And this quickly became my top 5 favorite shows of all time. Just because of how well everything was, how well the story was. I mean, hell, episode 3 with Bill and Frank, I was not expecting to be as good as it was. And Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal made this show what it was as much as the directing and everything else did. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved it, and I don't think they could have done it better. Like, to me at all.
No. Ditto. Yeah. This show's one of the favorites of any that we've covered for sure. I was curious about a couple of things. I'm kind of wondering if they had to kill Anna, because who's to say that she also wasn't immune?
Right.
Now it was probably the fact that she was probably bit, and a little of that made it through the umbilical cord.
Right.
But just enough for her body to build up an immunity. But that's asking a lot of a baby's immune system.
Right.
And at the end, yeah, I thought they did a good job too of pointing out in the what do they call it? The little bit after the special features, basically after the episode.
The little behind the scenes thing.
That this is one of those occasions where the parental figure has to lie because it's what's best.
And what's crazy to me is because that's a good first part of the premise of the Last of Us Part 2 is her struggling with this one lie, which is a pretty big one. And ultimately it was her choice to make, but Marlene took that choice away from her, and technically so did Joel by waking her up or taking her away. So
yeah. Although you could certainly argue that what he did was justified because of what Marlene did.
Right.
I mean, she wasn't made aware. It's funny how it ties into stuff that's going on in the real world, right? It's very much a my body, my choice thing. She wasn't made aware of all the consequences.
Hmm.
She intended to donate blood.
Yeah, and be studied, not
Yeah.
because the whole plan was to donate blood, get tested, and then go back to Jackson as a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're just gonna cut your brain out of your head and study it instead, which is messed up. But
yeah, very. I loved it though. I actually waited. It was tough too because I wanted to watch it. I couldn't watch it the night of the Oscars.
Right.
But I wanted to watch it the next night, and I thought, no, I need to wait. So I didn't watch it till Saturday morning.
Oh, I couldn't wait that long.
But it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth the wait. So.
And this is one that they're already announcing a steelbook for in the UK, which it better come here. And it's all I'm saying for the US. And I think they said June or July is when the pre-orders are going to go up for it.
Yeah, I saw the 4K pre-orders.
Yeah, I want one.
Announced, but
because I want one, and if I ever meet Bella Ramsey or Pedro Pascal, whenever we do these cons we go to, that's probably what I'll get them to sign out of anything.
If we ever get to go back.
Yeah, if we ever get to go back. If they ever come to Nashville. I don't understand that. Quick numbers from all of the weekly premiere viewerships. Of course, this is day one, all except for episode 5, but we'll get there. Episode 1 drew in 4.7 million viewers. Episode 2 bumped to 5.7 million. Episode 3 bumped to 6.4. Episode 4 bumped to 7.5. Episode 5 bumped from 7.5 to 11.6. But this also counts from Friday to Sunday night, because this was the one that released on Friday because of the Super Bowl. So they included the whole weekend, and that's why it's such a huge jump like that. Episode 6, we get back to normal, 7.8 million. Episode 7 dips a little bit to 7.7 million. Then episode 8 was 8.1 million. And then episode 9 bumped to 8.2 million. That's 8.2 million, Chris, when the Oscars are on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge number.
Well, nobody was getting slapped this year. So.
Right. And they kept security very tight, and, they're not going to have an incident like that. So from episode 1 to 4.7 million, we bumped all the way to the finale of 8.2 million. So I think it's a success. I was watching a lot of Neil Druckmann interviews because he was on Kind of Funny on Monday, and he's talking like season 3 is already confirmed because he's talking like that. Although there's nothing been confirmed yet. He said, but I like to think to believe, and Craig and I like to think to believe that there's going to be a season 3 of this. So that being said, if you don't want any Last of Us season 2 or part 2 things spoiled for you, skip ahead to a little bit till we change to Superman and Lois logo if you're video, or skip ahead for a little bit on audio. The Last of Us season 2 is all from Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. Will be different than the games. Bella Ramsey will return as Ellie. There will be much more infected, because apparently a lot of people had a complaint that there wasn't enough infected in this show. And I'm like, it's not necessarily about the clickers and stuff as much as it is about the story between these two characters.
We had a lot in that one episode, though.
Yes, that was a lot of them.
Episode 6, when they came crawling out of the ground.
Well, we had the bloater and everything, which was wonderfully done. Season 2 will not cover the whole second game, so that's why they want season 3, because I think I know exactly where they're going to split it up at. Filming could start later this year, although Bella Ramsey thinks it's going to start 2024. New kinds of infected will be coming. We'll expand upon the tendrils system that we got included early on. We also could see the inclusion of spores. We will see the Abby and Ellie changing perspectives. We will have more side character stories just like Bill and Frank. The release date will be likely around end of 2024, beginning of 2025. There will be a time skip between the two seasons, between season 1 and season 2, which there is in the games. Joel and Ellie's relationship post season 1 ending will be heavily explored, and it will cover Ellie's violent path. So, overall, though, listen, season 1, banger. This is our first Sunday night not having it, and it's one of those weird things when you come off of that kind of stuff. Like, you're just, oh, I can't wait for this next episode. Oh, yeah, we're done. So.
Well, Tyler, you have March Madness, so.
That's true. There's just been a lot of upsets in that. Like,
Yeah.
there are no perfect brackets anymore. That ended yesterday morning, or yesterday about noon. So. But let's talk about another show we have not talked about in a year, I guess it's been. Yeah, I guess it ended in May last year.
Yeah.
Superman and Lois. Season 3, we're going back to our website that loves to cover this nerdy stuff, nerdsandbeyond.com. And this is by Haley, which of course does all of our reviews for most of our our Titan stuff like that. Let's see. All right. It's been 27 days, less than a month since Allie Alston's defeat. Jordan's been practicing his flying, and John has been practicing his driving. Clark and Lois are back working together, and Lana is fully embracing her role as mayor. Meanwhile, Sarah is trying to adjust to life post-Jordan breakup while her parents finalize their divorce. We see Clark and Lois in bed together at Tal's villa, something they've been doing a lot more of this past month. Lois is sniffing out the potential connection between the John Henry of their Earth and Bruno Mannheim. Though Clark and Lois have 2 twin boys, that was because of the effects of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and not because a Kryptonian and a human can make a baby. Well, can they? After Lois speaks to John Henry's sister about her brother's murder, she slips in that Lois could be pregnant and wants to run a couple more blood tests. This was a very cool. I didn't think we were going to get until later on because of the trailers that we saw. And I'm glad we tackled this the first episode. Lois, of course, takes this news to Clark, and they both seem relatively hesitant. They have 2 teens on the cusp of being 16. Can they really handle a newborn? Nonetheless, like the Gold Star husband he is, Clark purchases a few pregnancy tests and runs into John Henry. One of my favorite scenes from this episode. Just like such a very Earth and human and normal dad experience. And so he's got 6 different pregnancy tests. And I feel like Tyler Hoechlin, and I'm sorry I forget who plays John Henry, I feel like their relationship, they work a lot better, more cohesively now. I mean, they've been together for 3 years at this point, but yeah. I feel like it was not so much a moment between Clark Kent and John Henry as much as it was the real live actors, because you could tell it was still very different to me in a very good way. So. They share a few laughs, and he asks how the 2 of them are feeling, where he admits he's got reservations. Lois is in full baby mode after having drinks with Lana. She presents the idea of more children to Clark, and he can see her excitement and joy, and he mirrors it. The vibes are a bit strange at the twins' 16th birthday, but at least it won't stop Chrissy from partying like it's 1999. John, Jordan, and basically all of Smallville watch a slideshow of their greatest hits throughout the years, and Jordan can't help but sneak glances at Sarah. She eventually approaches him, asking if he's ignoring her. He wants to be with her, but she doesn't want to be with him, so she's trying to save the awkward tension. But Sarah doesn't want that to hinder their friendship. She's still the only person that knows his secret, and she cares about him as a friend. She just needs space and time. Speaking of space, John is desperate for his own thing. With football no longer being an option, he turns to driving, determined to pass his test. He gets a bit of anxiety from Lois giving him helpful tips, but ends up passing the test anyways. Tal's gift is getting put to use after all. I completely forgot where their trucks came from, by the way. I know they said they sold Jordans, but Jonathan's, I was like, that's a really nice truck. And Jamie and I could not figure out where that came from. But okay, that makes more sense. That was at the very end of that season. I forgot all about that. Chrissy barricades herself inside the Kent home out of embarrassment, but Kyle soon joins her on the hunt for something to help fix Clark's ribs. They get to talking and share a tender moment between them, which leads to them waking up in a bed next to each other, and Chrissy trying her best to sneak out undetected. Kyle wakes up as she furiously puts on her clothes and runs down the whole morning after spiel. This can't happen, you're great, that sort of thing. And he seems fine with it. A knock on the door interrupts them, and Kyle finds Lana on the other side with signed divorce papers. Lois gets a call from the doctor with the results of her test. It turns out she's not pregnant, but the signs are a cause of concern, so she wants her to keep coming in and run a few more tests to get the cause. Sam takes Natalie to see a horror movie in an effort to get to know her better. He may not be her grandpa on this earth, but that doesn't mean they still cannot be close. Unfortunately, when they arrive at the theater, Natalie quickly realizes it's more than just hanging out. He brings up sending her to school to Metropolis and working in the DoD Academy. Her talent isn't wasted in a place like Smallville. Natalie is hurt by this because she wasn't expecting an ulterior motive, so when she returns home angry and John asks her what's wrong, it sends him into dad mode. He confronts Sam, Natalie's death, with enough loss and grief in her life. She just wants people that she could call friends and family. Sam realizes the error of his ways and apologizes, which Natalie accepts over a slice of cake. After finding mold in the walls of the high school, Lana must decide how she's going to allocate the funds to fix it. She moves some money around, which angers Dean, who confronts her, this is like one of the weird scenes, I feel like. He tells her she doesn't know what she's up against and that she can't mess with things she has no idea about. Haley says, working with the intergang Bruno perhaps. But no worries, Lana's not scared or intimidated. She's certainly not going to back down. That was a very weird scene here. Like, he just rushes into the Kent farm, says this piece, and then leaves. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So
it's obviously he had shady dealings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Lex Luthor.
Ooh, because we still haven't got him yet this season.
Right.
And we know he's in it. And they even name dropped him this season as well.
So maybe the money's being funneled
right
to Luthor, or he's cleaning money through the city.
Yeah,
taking dirty money and so yeah, something's going on.
Let's see. Clark finds himself in a showdown with Atom Man, who was Henry Miller, the one who was in prison, who apparently got out on sympathy because he had a brain tumor with only weeks to live. He'd been out 3 months before confronting Superman in Metropolis. As Superman's trying to get him help, he gets shot down, but it's not with bullets, it's tech. Oh, and he's also in Suicide Slum, which is a neighborhood in Metropolis, as acts as a stomping ground of various DC superheroes. As Superman uses his hearing to listen in around the city, it's the perfect time for Bruno's henchman to make the escape with Miller's body. He's taken back to wherever Bruno is hiding out and is injected and brought back to life with stable conditions. I've missed this show. As much hate as we give it sometimes at the end because of the breaks that they do, I have missed this show. I don't miss the filters, the overuse of the filters, but I do miss it. Love Tyler Hoechlin. I forget who plays Lois. Bitsy Tulloch.
Mm-hmm.
They like even more, and it's like I said earlier with the guy who plays John Henry. I'll look his name up in a minute, but I feel like everybody on this crew and cast has got such a better chemistry now, and I don't know what it is or what's going to be going on. Maybe some team builders. But that being said, the new Jonathan actor, much more believable for some reason to me, and he molds and fits better. I don't know if it was the directing or the writing for him. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like he was much more brotherly in this. And he looks a little older, granted. He looks like his young 20s than a 16-year-old. But just very, I don't know, like the old actor was very, I don't know, animated, I guess, and not that good of an actor. I can't really say that because I'm not an actor. I don't know what goes into it and that kind of stuff. But I kind of prefer this Jonathan, and I'm curious to see how it goes for the rest of the season. And I'm hoping that this is not the last season of Superman and Lois, because we do not have confirmation of what Peter and James want to do with this show. But I hope it's not to end it. And we have not heard how they're writing at the end of the season, because they're obviously still filming it and writing it. But I just hope it's not the end.
Right. Couple things. So the wishy-washiness of Sarah, right?
Yes.
She's like, well, she goes from telling him, I only see you as a friend, to, I just need some time.
Right.
Which is a mixed signal.
I really think they're going to make her, I'm hoping they don't make her into just a bisexual character. I really hope they don't go that route like they've done with a lot of these CW shows, where they are, including everybody, which is great, but I don't want them to change this character hey, we're going to change this character to this.
Yeah, don't do it just to do it.
Yeah, like it's if that's how they want to do it, they should have done it early on, not
Yeah,
in season 3 or the end of season 2. Which
yeah,
I think how they did it in season 2 was fine. They said, hey, I was a little curious. I made out with a girl. I cheated on you. I've got these feelings and stuff like that. And it shows Jordan's character. He's like, oh, he goes, well, it's okay. He goes, I am here wherever you need me to be. But I just don't want them to do that to her. I do like
yeah.
the thought though, because we even see in this where Lois and Clark are talking in the school about the mold and stuff. Their best friendship that they had early on,
Hmm.
and I really like their relationship. I think it'd be cool to see those families combine with Jordan and Sarah, eventually dating still, getting married down the road, like way down the road and stuff like that. I think that'd be a good, your my best friend's daughter is dating and marrying my son kind of thing. Is kind of a cool way to do it. I still want Jonathan
Right.
to have powers. I don't think that we're going to do that with the show anymore, and I just hope we're wrong.
I was very curious, right? Because we saw the tire swing in
Mm-hmm.
the family footage, and I was like, what if they accidentally included footage of Jonathan just like,
Throwing it and knocking it down.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's the only that and his anger issues in season 1 with the other high school, with the Metropolis high school. It's like the
mhm,
only inkling we've had of him having powers. But other than that, like it's been pretty hush hush and null and void really. So I'm curious to see what happens. Although his ex girlfriend, who was doing drugs, was back in this episode. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
yeah,
So I thought it was really cool to kind of
yeah.
keep that actress going because they could easily just cast somebody else and say, oh, it's just another girl at the school, but they kept her in the show. So,
Yep.
listen, Superman and Lois, I'm excited about. It's one of those I can't wait for episode 2 or the next episode. Hopefully, they don't do any breaks this season, and we can just run through it, except for like holidays or something like that, maybe. But it's
Right.
Tuesday, so it doesn't really compute there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
That's Mondays, right?
Tuesdays, it's Super Tuesday
Oh, that's
with
right.
Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights.
You
Which
can tell I don't watch it live.
no, I don't either. I've got it on recording, so and that's also why I'm really excited to get the season 2 in to watch it on digital and or Blu-ray. Is because one, because of the behind the scenes stuff, but two, because of the smoothness of it. Like YouTube TV records fine, but if you want 4K TV and high def and stuff, well, not just 4K TV, you have to pay extra, and I'm not paying extra for that. So on the Blu-ray though, it'll be crisp
Yeah.
and clean.
Don't, because there's no such thing as 4K streaming.
Yes. So
Because by the time the signal makes it to you, it's
yeah,
below a
it's
Blu-ray
not there.
disc. No.
So all right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Superman and Lois. It is finally back, but something that is back,
Oh Lord,
or is not back, but is new. Gotham
Lord
Knights,
Jesus.
episode 1, full on spoilers. We're going to Nerds and Beyond, and ladies and gentlemen, we don't like it. So we will see what the future holds, but we're going to talk through this recap. We'll probably do 3 episodes and decide to drop it or not. We'll see. We're going to nerdsandbeyond.com by Kalen this time. The series opens up with a narration by some random guy named Turner Hayes, the adopted son of billionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne, who is not in the comics. Someone murdered Turner's birth parents, just like Dick Grayson's. Some of this is obviously me imprinting this into this article. When he was a small boy, also almost mirroring Bruce's past. Perhaps there's their shared trauma, but Turner questions why Bruce picked him as he reveals a gold coin with an owl on its face. Turner walks over to a large bookcase with a hidden compartment, bringing Batman's mask out of hiding. While asking himself what other secrets his father had, the scene shifts to a fencing tournament. But as the narration continues, the young man admits that he has his secrets too, hinting at things to come, which I'm very confused about that, because he had no secrets in
No.
this episode, like, at all.
Mm-mm.
Um, let's see. Turner notices his father's absence after his fencing victory, which inspires him to throw a blowout party at the manor. The party is wild, everyone from school in there, even a young lady by the name of Carrie Kelly, a quiet, sweet girl who managed to stop a large vase from falling to the floor. Turner introduces himself. The two seem to be hitting it off, but are interrupted by Cressida. Turner's caretaker, which is so annoying. The woman is less concerned about the party, but informs Turner of the two kids kissing in Bruce's off-limits billiard room. But as it turns out, the culprit is Turner's best friend Stephanie with Brody, the boy he beat at the tournament. It becomes very clear that these two boys do not get along. The scene jumps to Wayne Tower, where Bruce is supposed to be. Three young thieves sneak into the heavily secured building. One picks the lock to Bruce's office, gaining access. The group is on a mission, searching for something specific, going straight for his vault, which someone emptied. Duella, which is also not the comics. The leader wasn't upset. She wasn't after cash, but the .38 caliber gun that killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Duella grabs a gun from the vault, noticing the worn barrel. The robbing was set up for something sinister. Suddenly, they're surrounded by helicopters and spray painted across the window, and bold letters read, "Your bat is dead." Laying down below it on the sidewalk is the lifeless body of Bruce Wayne. The team of thieves starts to escape when the Gotham PD shows up with District Attorney Harvey Dent, a friend of the Wayne family, played by Misha Collins. The shocking scene reveals Bruce wearing the infamous Batman mask, indicating the murderer knew who he was. Inside Wayne Tower, police officers catch up with the thieves, but their guns don't stop Duella. The young woman is skilled in combat, takes down the two officers in seconds. The three escape to the back of the building and hotwire a police vehicle to avoid arrest. Back at the Wayne Manor, the party is interrupted by police sirens. Harvey meets Turner at the door, having to break the terrible news about his father. When the party clears, Harvey informs the grieving boy that his father was Batman. Turner confides to Stephanie about his father's true identity. The shocking news leaves him angry and confused and enraged. Turner throws a bottle across the room. The room goes silent except for the sound of dripping. The two friends follow the sound, finding a hidden door. This is me speaking now. To the Batcave. Behind a very pushable stone that anybody could have bumped into or pushed.
Yeah. Someone could have easily leaned against that.
Not at all suspicious little stone archway with a book on a pedestal.
Right.
Not suspicious. Like, if that would be the first thing I would have went to if I was in this room. It's, oh, this is a cool book. What's this for? It accidentally bumped the thing to open the door. Mm-hmm. Come on. There's a lot of these moments in here. I would like to point out Duella's wig. Horrendous. You can easily tell it's a wig. And I'm tired of these wigs on these shows. Like, I looked at her, I looked up on IMDb, hasn't really acted in much, but she's got normal long hair. Just dye it.
Yeah.
Why are we putting a wig over her head?
I will say this about her performance, though. She
is very good.
Came across really well.
She is very good, and one of the notable good actors, but the bar is low for the show so far. Like the kid that plays Turner, I can't get into it.
It's easy to stand out on this show.
Mm-hmm. That's the nice way to put it. Like, the guy that plays Turner, they directed him, and I don't want to say it's his acting skills. Again, I don't know what goes into acting, so I don't know these things. But he was very, like, it flipped a switch after he saw his Batman. He starts becoming very brooding and very stoic and very, jaw clenched. Like, everything you see him, like every scene you see him, he's very, like, I'm like why? Like, this is unjustified at this point. Like, I don't understand any of this. All right, get back to the episode. The funeral is now underway, and the news along with the entire city is there to celebrate the life and death of Bruce Wayne, who they now know as their beloved Batman. Adults and children line the streets, some dressed in costumes, others holding sign. While the ceremony unfolds, the Gotham PD catches up with the three fugitives accused of killing the masked vigilante, bringing the trio into custody for questioning. Harvey meets up with Turner before leaving the cemetery, informing him of the good news. However, Turner finds no peace in their arrest, needing to know more, like who put them up to it. Another this show is very filtered, and we talked about it before we started recording. Like, my wife and I watched this, and Gotham is very justified in their use of filters for their camera shots. It's a little bit more believable than Superman is. Superman uses like a heavy yellow all the time on their show. But this one was like very blue, very overcasty looking and stuff like that. Even the funeral scene, which you could tell is heavily filtered because Misha Collins, who plays Harvey Dent's suit coat, is really red. But like they toned it down so much, it was like a dark red. It also stood out because everyone else is in black. So
Right.
whatever. I guess we're trying to, hey, make sure you pay attention to this character kind of thing. All right. Duella and her partners, the brother-sister duo of Colin and Harper Rowe, are now undergoing excruciating interrogation by Detective Ford and Harvey. Duella was born inside Arkham Asylum, in and out of juvenile detention, with a mile-long criminal record. Harvey presents a playing card with a Joker on it, revealing that she is the child of the Joker himself. Again, I don't know if this is in the comics or not. I don't really pay attention that much, but I don't think it is. But, kind of cool. Turn to find out, though, not Harley Quinn's daughter.
No.
We find out. Which she has a lot of, and again, the actress that plays Duella, great job, because she was very Harley Quinn-esque and Joker-esque in this, but not Harley Quinn's daughter. So I guess it's all Joker related, her mannerisms, which I really enjoyed. Harper and Cole lived in a house full of abuse from their father. Their mom left, so their dad turned to his kids. Harvey and Ford don't agree on their motive or who put the kids up to the murder. Cole admits to needing the money for himself and his sister, while they can't decide Duella did it for greed or revenge for her father. In this world, Batman murdered the Joker, which is in The Killing Joke and a lot of other things. So we are rolling with that one. It's also Titans. It's season 3, so we're still running with that. While at school, Turner gets into an argument with Brody, who begins taunting him about his dad. Brody argues how weird it is that the men who killed Bruce Wayne knew he was Batman, but Turner didn't. Though it calls Turner to think, instead of waiting for the GCPD to find the people who killed his dad, why not use the Batcave to solve the murder himself? Which is what I would have done. And see, Turner and Stephanie leave school together, returning to the Batcave, and it turns out that Stephanie isn't just his best friend, but also a hacker. A little convenient. Stephanie tries to hack the Gotham City National Bank to find cash withdrawals and under what names. However, the young woman underestimates the power of the Batcave computer system and winds up hacking every bank in the city. During the search, they find 17 cash withdrawals made under Turner's name to the killers, setting him up. And before they can inform the police about the fraud, they've already shown up at his home to arrest him. After Turner gets into police custody, Harvey confronts Detective Ford, believing Turner did not do it, but Ford's adamant that Turner did, using his parents' unsolved murders as a historical pattern. Ford continues to add that Bruce wanted to change the beneficiary on his last will, which Ford believed was his motive. Then, to add salt to an open wound, Harvey drops the bombshell news that his attorneys no longer want to represent Turner in this case. Harvey then hands over a 6th century Athenian gold coin found at the crime scene. Ford soon interrupts the conversation to move Turner to the jail cell he shares with Duella, Colin, and Harper. Duella especially was not pleased to see the Bat Brat, which I love some of these names. And once Harper accused him of setting them up, the real trouble began. Colin and Harper argue, causing Duella to fight with them and Turner to fight with Duella. Duella then turns around, headbutting Turner in the face. The four end up getting to a brawl, alarming the guards. When they do show up, Duella fights with them right before being separated. And while that is happening, Harvey has a moral dilemma. Does he rescue himself from the case, or as a DA, does he convict Turner, who is like a nephew to him? He also wants to be governor, making the decision more complicated. Turner, Duella, Harper, and Cullen soon start transportation into another facility in an armored vehicle surrounded by cops, which this is also another scene that's very annoying for me. Every time they showed the inside of the back of that van, it was clearly in a room, not a van, or there is barely walking room. Anyways. Duella reveals that the fight that they had at the jail was fake, and they only did to take items off of the cops they could use to remove the handcuffs. They understand that none of them killed Bruce, but are afraid of being killed by whoever did. Now they need to work together to get away before the killers finish what they started. The transport is now taking place, and Duella distracts Ford, who is in the truck with them, by messing with her cuffs, while Colin and Harper work on removing theirs. Colin attacks Ford from behind as Harper attacks the guard with pepper spray. Ford loses his gun. Colin gets a hold of the bat and stick and continues to attack Ford until he can't move. They free Duella from her cuffs, offering Turner the choice to escape with them, an offer he doesn't pass. Duella attacks the second guard, getting a hold of his taser gun, using it on the driver, causing the vehicle to go out of control and crash. Okay, let's just blah blah blah. Let's see. Turner intervenes as Duella takes Ford to collateral, explaining they can't prove they are killers if they kill, but Duella isn't as naive. She knows they don't care if they're innocent or not. Ford grabs the gun, proving her right. The police department is aiding the murderer to conceal their movements. Ford cocks the gun and aims, and when out of the darkness, a massive vigilante using Batman's same symbol for battering rescues them. The stranger takes out the police cars, and each officer of the young hero is Robin, better known as Carrie Kelly from Trig. Carrie found out Bruce Wayne was Batman by accident when a mutant gang threw him off the roof of her apartment, and she dragged him to safety. After that, she became his eyes and ears. The episode closes with the group seeking safety at Turner's secret hiding location, which is at the top of their skull. They discuss the situation when Colin shows them the watch he stole from Ford, embellishes the same symbol as the coin Harvey showed Turner earlier. Their street-smart companion, Duella, recognizes it right away. This design belongs to the Court of Owls, a dangerous outfit in charge of Gotham City. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody dares ask. Duella recites the poem, and the scene jumps to Cressida burning Bruce Wayne's last will, and then to a parking garage where a man dressed head to toe in black decapitates Ford, which is the Talon, which is a very well done from the comics adaptation.
Yeah. So, speaking of comics, Duella is in the comics.
Okay.
She first appeared as Joker's daughter pre-Crisis in the Batman Family series. She later claimed to be the daughter of Catwoman, the Scarecrow, the Riddler, and Penguin. She deduced Robin's identity, and he revealed she was Duella Dent, Two-Face's daughter. So, obviously, they're not going with that here.
Right.
But yeah, she's one of the bright spots, acting-wise, of the show, I feel like.
Yeah. The lady that plays Stephanie, the best friend, she was in All-American for a little bit. Saw another CW alum. I feel like she did great as well. She didn't get as much screen time I feel like she should have. But she's obviously going to be the Batgirl character of the show, or as Oracle. Yeah. Which I'm very concerned to see who this Turner character shows up to be, because he's obviously not going to be Robin, Nightwing, or any of those kind of kids. So,
and you know my complaint about the upcoming James Gunn Batman series was we still haven't gotten a proper Dick Grayson origin story. So therefore, we haven't really gotten a proper Jason Todd. We haven't gotten a proper Tim Drake.
Right. The Titans are doing a good job, but we still did not get a proper origin story. Like we essentially went straight to Nightwing.
And they're getting canceled.
Right.
So here we're making up characters.
Yes. Which
this would have held a lot more weight if it was Dick Grayson.
Yes.
And have Jason Todd or have Tim Drake as the Robin who's in high school.
Well, you could have even had Carrie still be the Robin that's in high school. I mean, not a big deal with her, but it's very weird. And like they're making this Turner character very dumb, if you ask me, because he never knew he was Batman, which is whatever. But if it was as close as I said they were,
because in the timeline, he's already revealed his identity as Batman to Grayson, Todd, Drake, Carrie. Right? She knows.
But this random adopted kid. This show is going to be very different, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. I really don't. Like off this first episode, I'm not sold. Like I'm nowhere near sold. And what's crazy to me is because on this podcast, even on Hero Cravings, we've covered so many Gotham stories. Of course, Gotham being the number one of both of our favorite Batman stories, or whatever you want to call it, really. We've also had Titans. And now we've also had Batwoman, which we didn't really cover on this show, but we've had Crisis and things like that. And now we've got this, another iteration, and very poorly done, like very poorly done.
The only thing that I can think of, and I hope this is the case, is they were told by the bosses at DC, we're not going to let you use these characters, because we've got other plans for them.
This is what we are now in a James Gunn and Peter Safran world. I don't see this as of right now going past season 1. I can see them going, we are wanting to deliver top tier content, and this is not it, even for a CW show.
I don't know that all of season 1 airs.
Oh,
That
Uh,
might be
yeah,
dependent on the contract with CW.
right. I just it's it's a rough show. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
not really much that intrigues me besides Talon, which is a very cool Court of Owls storyline like villain. Um, which is a very big Batman villain, not so much Gotham Knights. But it's very weird because you got the Gotham Knights video game that also did not do well.
Right.
And you like there's nothing different differentiating the names between the game and the TV show. And so it's very hard to Google things because when you type in Gotham Knights, it pulls up the video game or pulls up the TV show. It's just
Hmm.
this is not very well implemented, and I don't
Not at
see
all.
it doing well. Period. I don't.
Not at all. No, I mean, I would have rather them taken the money they put into this and given us a fifth season of Titans.
Correct, and they should have.
Yeah.
But notable news for these past 2 weeks, we had John Bernthal returning as a Punisher in Daredevil: Born Again. Excellent. Bring it on.
Now
And
give us the official announcement for Jessica Jones.
correct. Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I mean, let us know something. Unless they're going to do like surprise cameos. I still think they are. But
Maybe.
John John Bernthal returning as the Punisher is excellent.
Hmm.
Releases this week, Friday, March 24th. Love is Blind Season 4 starts on Netflix. Sunday, March 26th, the new season of Succession launches on HBO Max. And that's all for our TV. Well, that was a good chunk of our time. was,
Yeah, yeah.
was all those TV shows, which is excellent.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Uh,
Thanks for coming, stopping by.
we have nothing else to talk about. No, we'll get into films now. So, first up, have you watched anything else?
I did. I watched Shazam again for the first time since it came out on Blu-ray
Oh,
and digital.
damn.
And love that movie. I'm actually looking right now to see what I gave it on Letterboxd because it's been a minute since I've put it in here. 4.5 is no 4 stars is what it is.
Yeah.
So, which is great. I love Zachary Levi and his humor is great too. So I like what they're doing with it. But that was it.
I
What
only
about you?
watched,
You anything?
I only watched one other movie this week. I watched Lizzie.
Lizzie's the Lizzie McGuire movie.
No,
Oh,
no. So it's a movie based on Lizzie Borden,
hmm.
the alleged axe murderess who killed her father and stepmother.
It's not been officially proven yet.
Well, she was acquitted by a jury. They did not believe a woman could commit such violent crime. They
Yeah,
obviously didn't have
yeah.
the Discovery ID channel back then.
Correct. They obviously had no idea.
Um, but it stars Chloe Sevigny and um, oh, damn, I'm forgetting her. I'm blanking on her name. She was in the Twilight movies.
Kristen Stewart.
Yes, they Kristen Stewart plays Bridget, the housekeeper, and Chloe Sevigny plays Lizzie Borden.
Hmm.
It's a pretty good movie. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, which if you've ever looked into it, first off, if you're interested and you're ever up in Falls River, Massachusetts, you can actually stay at the house. I think it's still a bed and breakfast,
I'm good.
and they've recreated the. At least they've got replica furniture to match the sofa where the father was killed and all that. Um, but yeah, good film. Don't watch it with your kids. It's not super gory. There's a couple scenes, but there is a good bit of nudity towards the end of the movie because
Yeah.
one of the things that they theorize is for her to have for anyone involved to have committed these murders if they were in the house there, someone who lived there, they almost had to have done it in the nude to avoid getting blood all over their clothes.
Hmm.
So that's how they have them do it in the film.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, on to our movie of the week. So we watched Shazam: Fury of the Gods earlier today, as we record this. Um, we're doing spoiler free, so I don't want to reveal too much. Basically, um, they have to save the world again
Hmm.
because some of the gods have returned. Let me get the names specifically here of the gods. So you had um, Lucy Liu was Calypso, and we had Helen Mirren as Hespera, and then we also had Rachel Zegler as Anthea.
She
These are
was
the
great. I
yeah,
really enjoyed her. All three of them really were really well done.
these were the daughters of Zeus,
Daughters of
right?
it was daughters of God. Why can't I remember? Atlas.
Daughters of
Yep.
Atlas. Daughters of Atlas. And they basically, well, it really was Lucy Liu, her character, Calypso, that wanted to take over Earth,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Um,
Get revenge.
yeah. So the movie's essentially our heroes trying to stop that from happening. That's the
Yeah. Broad as you could
or
probably get with it.
yeah,
Without spoilers on it. Um,
yeah,
I really enjoyed this movie, and I said it many times since I've been home, and I told you once before we started recording. I want to go watch it again. I don't think it's deserved of the critic and box office reviews that it got on Rotten Tomato and things like that. I just don't. I don't feel like the people that are reviewing this are the target audience. Like I feel like this is a superhero movie more so for like teenagers, and I don't mean that like saying it's a kids movie or anything like that. I just feel like that's what it's kind of targeted towards because
right,
it's a very jokey, coming to terms, coming to age kind of movies and stuff like that. Heck, Billy Batson is 5 months from 18,
yeah,
and so is dealing with that with his foster family, and being a superhero on top of that, and not wanting things to change. And I really enjoyed this. The story was pretty good. There were some surprises I had no idea about. There was one at the end that I audibly said "holy shit" to because I was not expecting, and like it was a very very good moment. The end fight, very 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 well done and was very superhero esque. There are two post credit scenes, so if you are going to watch this, make sure you stay for both. The majority of our theater left after the first one, which was also a very big shocker. And I hate that we don't know if this is going to continue on, which I hope it does, because I really like David Sandberg and Zachary Levi with this film. And I feel like they can only make the DCU better.
right.
But
Just to give you guys that haven't seen it yet something to watch for when you go actually watch it. Um, I looked up some trivia here. I didn't notice this.
if it's one thing,
So
I might have noticed it.
David F. Sandberg
Hmm.
was also the director
Yes.
of a little film called Annabelle Creation.
Hmm.
That doll is in a chair at the pediatrician's office.
I didn't even notice that. Not creepy at
Yeah,
all.
they hid the doll on the set. And interestingly, Grace Caroline Curry, who plays Mary, is in both films.
Oh,
Also, in this film, she also played her superhero
yes,
self.
I did notice that. Like early
That
on,
was
she's
that was not the case in the first one.
nice baddie there, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so now they do note this film was announced just a week after the first one opened in theaters.
oh, I forgot about that.
So I don't think that's going to be the case.
No, I don't think
So
we're
that,
gonna. Yeah, I don't think we're getting news this week about that. But
but
James
yeah,
Gunn said he enjoyed it too. So they said it was
mm,
one of his favorite DCEU films, and a lot of it does play off as a DCEU film. But I mean, I really enjoyed this, and I want to go watch it again. I cannot wait to get the steelbook of it so I can continuously watch it and see the behind the scenes stuff. And I mean, I've loved Zachary Levi as an actor ever since Chuck. He was obviously in the Heroes, was it Reborn or whatever it was that spin-off show was,
Reborn.
and he does Nerd HQ, and he's made a questionable comment about Pfizer recently, and it wasn't so much anti-vax, it was more so Pfizer is a bad company, and a lot of people took that to be, oh, he's anti-vaccine, which is not the case. He was just saying that, don't put all your love for Pfizer. They're not a good company. So, which is fine. So, for me, it's everyone go watch this movie. Don't believe what the critics say. Make your own opinion. We say that with just about anything. Like I just think the people that reviewed it, and it's like the people that reviewed the movies for Morbius and Venom, aren't the target audience. And because you can always tell because of how different the user scores are from the critic scores. And to this point, I probably am going to Google tonight. I meant to earlier what it takes to become a Rotten Tomatoes user reviewer, because I don't know. Like you have to think of the target audience that it's trying to serve, and it's not your normal MCU crew. So,
and like we were talking about before, I think the box office is just as much affected by the changes at Warner Brothers with DC. People are thinking this isn't going to be connected. It could very well be connected.
Especially just off that one mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
If they go forward with those projects. So, but I recommend it. I want to go watch it again. If you want someone to go watch it with you, just hit me up. And if you're in the nearby area, I'll go. Because I do want to see this again. Although it did say at the end of the film, made for IMAX. And I do want to go watch it in IMAX.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'd be good. I gave it 3.5.
I give it a 4.5. I need to put that on my tracker here.
But yeah, I would definitely go make up your own mind. Don't listen to the naysayers.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to review Me Time, that's Netflix, right?
Yes.
Cool. So
Kevin Hart and God, what's his name? Hey, Mark Wahlberg. We haven't done a comedy here lately, so
yeah, and we really need to get to one.
Yes, we've had a lot of heavy movies recently.
A lot. And of course, next week we'll also do our spoilers.
Yes.
For Shazam. In notable movie news, well, how'd you get off with one TV news item and I got like 6?
Just how it came across.
Right. This is exciting news because this is one of the most in-demand actresses going right now. Beetlejuice 2 is in the works with Michael Keaton returning, and Jenna Ortega is set to play Lydia's daughter.
I'm excited. Everyone's been wanting a Beetlejuice 2, right?
Right.
And Michael Keaton doing a bunch of acting recently, so this is exciting. But they could not have picked a better actress for her daughter than Jenna Ortega. And if it's anything like her Wednesday character, it's going to be excellent. So
yeah,
should be another cult classic if they do it right.
Also up, Zack Snyder's teasing a mysterious project with Darkseid coming April 28th to 30th.
I'm very curious about this. Have you seen these teases?
I saw the Darkseid tease.
Yes.
The initial. I did see something after we left the theater. I was sitting in the parking lot, pulled up my phone, and something popped up. People are thinking that his films are going to get re-released in theaters that weekend. And that's what it is.
Are we going to go if that's the case, or
maybe.
It just depends, I guess.
That's also NFL draft weekend too.
So. Oh, I mean, come on. Not a lot of good prospects this year. So.
Right. James Gunn is directing Superman Legacy to be released July 11th, 2025.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. Good Burger 2 has been announced with Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell returning for Paramount Plus.
Very excited about that one. They announced that on Jimmy Fallon Friday night.
It's going to be hard to beat the original.
That is correct.
Just saying. All right, and then we have our Oscar winners. So we're probably not going to go through all these, um, but clearly we underestimated one particular movie.
Yeah, they might as well just swept the competition here.
Yeah, this comes from CBS.com or CBSNews.com and Jordan Freeman. Everything Everywhere All at Once completed its sweep of major industry awards at the 95th Academy Awards Sunday night. The genre-defying film took home the Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, and several cast members. Oh, it's one of these sites. I'm getting a bunch of ads.
Mm-hmm.
Several cast members earned individual acting awards. Jimmy Kimmel returned to host the Oscars for the third time, with the ceremony being broadcast live from the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles. Everything Everywhere All at Once, co-written and co-directed by Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan, came into the night with the most nominations and it already won the top prizes given out by the Screen Actors Guild, Directors Guild, Producers Guild, and Writers Guild. The cast has also won accolades throughout awards season. Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Ki Wee Kwan took home individual Screen Actors Guild awards before Kwan and Curtis went on to win Oscars for Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress Sunday night, and Yeoh was honored with the Oscar for Best Actress. Here we go. So it won Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Fraser from The Whale won Best Actor.
I was okay with that, and
Yeah.
so was the whole theater as well.
Yeah, he was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Best Actress Michelle Yeoh, Best Directors the Daniels as they were known, Best Supporting Actor Ki Wee Kwan.
His speech was very beautiful. I didn't realize this was his first acting gig in like a decade or something like that.
It had been a while.
And his speech was, I think, the best speech of the night, honestly.
Yeah.
And very happy with him, especially with Harrison Ford giving him the Oscar for Best Picture at the end. That was a very, very, very touching moment as well. And of course, it's been all over the internet this week. So,
Best Supporting Actress Jamie Lee Curtis.
I disagree with this one. I seriously think this should have been Angela Bassett, and so did she. I don't know if you noticed her reaction. Yeah. Everyone, I think a lot of people did. And then when Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan came out and gave their, I guess their, what do they call it? Presenting. When they presented, that was a very, very good moment. And you could tell that they thought she should have won as well. Because Michael B. Jordan, which is Grace, said, what did he say? He said, "Hey, Auntie," like he did in Black Panther. And God, it was so good, man. And I need to watch Creed.
From a career perspective, I think both were deserving.
Correct.
It's just hard to match up against Angela Bassett and her performance.
And that's the thing that some people mentioned as well, which I agree with some things. Her best line delivery and everything was in the trailers for the movie. And I'm like, yeah, they could have kept that a little behind the wraps, but it was such a very moving speech that it drew crowds in. And I still think she should have won, personally. But that's just how I feel.
Yeah. International film was All Quiet on the Western Front. Best animated feature, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
That's the one you watched, right?
Yeah. So, original screenplay went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Adapted went to Women Talking. Avatar did get visual effects. So, yeah. I'm
trying to think. I know All Quiet on the Western Front got a lot of wins as well.
Yeah, it got cinematography and a lot of those. Black Panther did win for costume design,
which we've already, like, Marvel's already won for.
Yeah.
And which is just kind of whatever. Like, I feel like it should have been nominated for a lot more, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So there's a lot there. Our pick early on got shut out. Elvis didn't win anything.
Man, that kind of sucks. But Were you able to catch the red carpet with when they did Austin Butler's accent? So like he's still very much Elvis, like very much, and it's not like it's subtle, like it comes and goes, but it's more on than it is off. And I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate,
I
but
think one reason it's going to be hard for him to shake it was COVID.
yes,
'Cause he he was already in Australia when COVID hit because they were getting ready to film, and he just when the restrictions went in and filming got delayed, he just stayed in character.
right.
So now he's basically taught himself to talk that way. It's probably going to take him getting another role where he has to take on an accent
Hmm.
to get rid of that.
And it's a very good kid. It was just very because I even texted you. I said, oh, he still has not lost that accent. It's still on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, releases this week. John Wick Chapter 4 comes out the 24th of March. Um,
One of these days, we're going to go through and watch those.
yeah. Um, they lost a member of the cast
Mm.
this week.
Yeah.
I'll let you touch on that real quick.
So we'll talk about before we get into gaming. So we had a very prominent um, voice actor. I don't want to say personality, but Lance Reddick from The Wire, John Wick, Bosch, Fringe, um, Angel Has Fallen. I mean, he's been in a lot of things. Notably, what I know him for is for my commander Zavala in Destiny, and he was also Silence in the Horizon series. And unexpectedly, 60 years old, Friday morning. They said died of natural causes, and I'm trying to see if I can pull the actual post from his wife. Let's see. God, I wish I could find it. But it, because this guy, Destiny, one of my favorite games of all time. Commander Zavala has always been that, that constant and everything. So it's very weird to not have him around anymore. He was also a very avid Destiny player, and even so, you can go and see people's stats and stuff online. And so this one user on Reddit went to the website and typed in his game ID and stuff like that. And it turns out he was even playing Destiny the night before he died. He was grinding it like just everybody else does. And it's unfortunate he died, man. They say from natural causes. I imagine it's from an embolism or a heart attack. But it sucks. Oh, God, it sucks. Because he was on the press tour for John Wick 4. But his wife, I wish I could find the post. Actually, I'll pull it up on Twitter. Because this just shows the community of Lance's. So his wife posted yesterday on Saturday. He died Friday, the 17th. Lance was taken from us far too soon. Thank you for all your overwhelming love, support, and beautiful stories shared on these platforms over the last day. I see your messages and can't begin to express how grateful I am to have them. And this lets me know how much the Destiny community meant to him, to his life, to his family, and everything. She put in the same post, in the same tribute picture, and to the thousands of Destiny players who played in special tribute to Lance, thank you. Lance loved you as much as he loved the game. And then, of course, donations may be made to momcares.org in Baltimore, which is his hometown. So, it just sucks. He posted 2 days before his death of him and his dogs, because he's always posting dogs of Twitter and stuff like that, of his dogs, barking at each other and stuff like that. Very active in the community, active on Twitter, loved his fans. But yeah, it sucks. I hate it. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. Destiny's not going to be the same without him, but we don't know what Bungie's going to do for going forward. Horizon Forbidden West, whatever the third game of that is supposed to be very silence heavy. We don't know what that's going to look like. But right now, this one hurt. I think this one's probably the biggest celebrity death that hurt. Because I've audibly, I don't know, audibly cried's the word. I cried Friday a couple of times. And there's this voice line from the first Destiny game going around. It's what broke me. I'm trying not to let it break me again tonight. And I'll post it. This is from our Commander Zavala. And this is a voice line from the game. And it's just very, I don't know, sucks. But that is life. Life is not guaranteed for the next day. So tell everybody you love them and be the best person you can possibly be every day because you're not guaranteed a tomorrow.
Would you be, as a fan of his work in the games, would you be okay if they sort of, I'm trying to think of the actual term here, but basically deep faked his part?
No, I don't. I think ideally use the voice lines they have for him if they want to continue going. Because this expansion just happened. They've obviously already recorded and are doing things for the next expansion for next year, which is like the sum of everything. People on Reddit are saying no to recastings, no to deepfakes, which I'm with as well. Use the voice lines you have, but people are saying kill him off in a sacrificing way in the game instead of recasting or doing something with him as far as deepfake and stuff, which I'm all about. Let his work, be remembered fondly of the game. And you can still log into the game right now, and people are, because you can do different emotes and things with his character in the tower, which is like the social hub. And people are still kneeling, sitting, doing emotes and stuff with Commander Zavala. And it's just very, I don't know, I've never been a part of a gaming community that's done that. And it's very touching, very cool. And I hate that we did not get that opportunity to go see him in Nashville. Because he was supposed to be here, I think it was March 2020. When they shut the pandemic down, because we were going to go to Nashville Comic Con. I was going to have him sign my Destiny game. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. But, it is what it is, and just got to keep going. So,
yep.
I haven't played very many games this week. I tried Valheim, which came to Game Pass. I don't think it was worth the hype, especially on Xbox. It does not look good and doesn't play good, I don't feel like. But if you're into that kind of survivalist, bear nothing, you start with nothing, you build up from nothing, then you'll enjoy that. But other than that, my weekly Destiny stuff. But you, though, Chris, have something you have played this week.
I do. I finished The Quarry.
What do you think?
I really liked it. I got to the end. I didn't do as well as I wanted to. But when I finished Until Dawn, I was like, all right, I played it. I liked it.
Right.
But I was like, all right, time to go play other stuff. As soon as I finished this one, I was like, I want to play it again.
Get a different ending.
Yeah, because in part, I broke it up over a few weeks, and I think I told you, because with one of the latest system updates, you can now see your playtime on the main screen on the PS5.
Yes.
For under each title. It was only 4 hours. So the next time I've got that kind of time to just rip through something, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. That's a great feature because I think that was just a new update this past week, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, I went and looked, I immediately went and looked like some of my Assassin's Creed games. 145, 150.
No.
And then on Valhalla, I'm still at 164. I
Really?
think is where I'm at. 164 hours of my time.
Really? So I got depressed one night because one of my main games I play is Madden, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do mainly franchise now. I was logging off and went back to it might have been the very night that this update took effect. Like 646
Oh,
hours.
only, you know. Can you ever think of all this time we spent gaming and stuff? What could have done?
Yeah.
Learn an instrument, learn a new language. Man,
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't trade it for the world though. I mean, I miss the times though, and I've said this. I forget who I've told this to in the past, but I miss those being a kid, a teenager, not having a care in the world, coming home from school, and just sitting and playing a game, or like all weekend
Yep.
long or spring break. Zoe was on spring break this past week, and like she's doing things with friends and everything, which is great. But my spring breaks, I sat in my bonus room, play Call of Duty or whatever video game was out that year, nonstop from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. Some people called me recluse. Some people called me, nerd, all this other stuff. But then
You were
I
just
loved it, and
you
I
were
miss it.
dedicated.
Yes, and I miss every aspect of that. Like I have very fond memories of like winter break of New Year's Eve, um, going to IHOP. We went to IHOP with my mom and stepdad at the time, and ate dinner, and came home, played World at War again, Call of Duty, till midnight. Got off at like 11 o'clock, went and watched the ball drop, and came right back on the next day, technically next year, and played until 6 o'clock in the morning when the sun came up. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to bed. Went to sleep, woke back up about halfway through the day, and kept playing. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things, kids, that take everything you have and remember it fondly because things change and it's just, man, it's a heavy little end of the episode here, but it's time is
Life
crazy.
happens.
Yeah, life happens and you don't know you're living through the good times until you're looking back on it. So, notable news for September: Starfield has been delayed to officially come out September 6th, with a showcase happening. I think it's June 21st, which is just gonna be a full-on showcase of this, which I'm fine with. This is a big game; they can't afford for it to be bad. So,
Right.
take your time. Everything I've seen, and the more stuff that I've seen from it, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a time suck. That Diablo 4 this year, but. Releases this week: The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 for Retribution for PSVR 2, March 21st. EA Sports PGA Tour for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, March 24th. And the Resident Evil 4 remake for everything but for everything except for Switch, March 24th. Which this is getting a bunch of perfect reviews, by the way. So, I might play it on discount someday. Not anytime soon. I do want to play it though because it's an action horror, and I could get through that. And I love Resident Evil games I've played. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that has been your Oscar post Last of Us episode, Gotham Knights episode 1, and Superman and Lois review episode 106 of the Nerdwide podcast. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on whatever platform you use. Subscribe to us on YouTube and podcasting service. Don't forget to share it on your favorite social media platforms to help get the word out. Thank you to all of our new subscribers for the week. We did get some there, so I appreciate you guys across YouTube and podcasting. Social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account at nerd_wide on Facebook and nerd_wide on Twitter. Sorry, let me double that back. And then Facebook, if you'll just search in Nerdwide Podcast or nerdwide.com, we're always the first thing that pops up on that search bar. So make sure you follow us on either one of those. That's how we relay information to you the fastest way possible. And there, if you want to get the episodes early, of course, go to patreon.com/nerdwide and follow us and subscribe to us there, whatever tier you want to. And ladies and gentlemen, as always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide podcast, and we can't wait to talk some more Gotham Knights with you because that's the only show I'm looking forward to in the week. That is a lie.
No. No.
Can't wait to talk Superman and Lois with you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Until then, have a great week. Stay warm, and we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.